What are the most important aspects of a successful financial strategy? Is it the investments? Is it the taxes saved? Is it the income created? Well, to me, that's none of those things. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you what I believe to be the most important aspects of a successful financial strategy. Hey everybody, I'm James Knoll, founder of Root Financial Partners, and I'm here to teach you what you need to know to create a secure retirement. There's a lot of great information out there. How do I save money on taxes? How do I invest better? How do I create more income? How do I have a better Social Security claiming strategy? All of it is wonderful information, but a lot of it misses the point. So in today's video, what I want to walk through is what do I want everyone to look at when it comes to their financial strategy? What's the right viewpoint? What's the right aspect that you want to be looking at in order to make sure that you're making the most of your financial situation? Now there's 5 things we're going to walk through, and some of them are financial, some of them are a little bit non-financial, but I want to show you how you can apply these to your financial situation to ensure you're making the most of it. Number 1, the most important thing to a successful financial strategy is that personal finance is more personal than it is finance. What's an example of that? You have people telling you, should you pay off debt or should you invest? What percentage of your money should be in stocks? What percent of your income should you be saving for retirement? What should you be doing with this, that, or the other? A lot of it is good information, and a lot of it's good information that can guide us to the right place. You'll see rules of thumb everywhere you go, but here's what people too often do, is they view every single decision through the lens of how much money is this going to save me in taxes, or how much more is this going to add to my portfolio, or how much bigger can this make my net worth grow to if I just keep doing these things. Those aren't bad considerations. In fact, they're crucial considerations, but they're secondary considerations. To me, I'd rather people view things through the broader context. And what does that start with? Well, it starts with understanding, what are your goals? And what are your goals is just a more rigid way of asking, what do you want your life to look like? Envision your ideal retirement. How much time are you spending with family? How much time are you traveling? What are you doing with your days? What are you doing with your money? View your goals through that lens, or view your finances through that lens as a starting point. Because once you do that, most people, when they're making decisions of, say, should I save more money to retirement? Should I work another year? While they're viewing it from how much more is this going to make my portfolio grow? How much more is this going to increase my net worth? What I'd rather them view it through is, how much more is this going to allow me to spend time with my family? How much more is this going to allow me to step away from the job I don't want to be working at anymore so I can take some time to travel? How much more is this going to support my vision for an ideal life? Then, as you're making those decisions, you can ask yourself, 1, is making this decision going to enhance or detract from what I want my life to look like, from what I want my goals to be? And the secondary thing is, what's the risk of choosing not to make this decision? So what if it doesn't save me more money in taxes? So what if it doesn't increase my net worth? Is the risk of me not making this decision so dramatic that it's going to limit my ability to spend time with family, to take the trips I want to take, to do the things I want to do? So yes, saving taxes, growing net worth, increasing your investments, all very important, but it's secondary behind what's the vision I have for my life, what I want to do with my time, how do I want to spend my days, and then you can understand the financial side of things. But I always want people to understand that personal finance is so much more personal than it is financial. The goal of financial planning isn't to see how can we die with the most amount of money. The goal of financial planning is to say how can we get the most life out of our money in terms of its ability to support what matters most to us. So that's the first most important aspect of a successful financial plan. The second most important aspect is that momentum is more powerful than spreadsheets. What do I mean by that? I see this all the time with the debate between should I pay off my mortgage or should I invest? I was meeting with a couple the other day, and they were paying off their mortgage very aggressively, and they were doing a wonderful job of it. Now I like to look at everything from all angles. I want to take a sober-minded view of everything, of let's not go with whatever feels right necessarily, but let's at least explore every single option. So I looked at them and I said, look, if you would take this money they're paying extra towards your mortgage or invest it, because they were still a few years out from retirement, so they had some time to take advantage of compound interest, I just showed them. I said, look, here's what would happen if you were to invest that money instead of use it to pay down their mortgage. And I could tell that they got it. And it clicked with them and they said, yes, we get it rationally, but it wasn't sitting easy with them. So the next thing I said was, investing your money can have much more potential to increase your net worth much more significantly. But my recommendation for you is to keep paying down your mortgage as aggressively as you can. That's not the advice I would give to everyone, but for them, there was a sense of momentum and energy and excitement of seeing that mortgage balance fall each and every month, and that was so motivating to them. So the spreadsheet answer was invest that money. Look how much more it could grow for you over time. Look at all these benefits to it. But in personal finance, that momentum is a piece that we never want to discount. What's going to motivate the right behavior? What's going to increase your momentum in the right direction? Doing that is far more important than just doing whatever the spreadsheet says. Rule number 3, the third most important aspect of a good, successful financial strategy is that stocks and bonds aren't the only thing you can invest in. Now, what I mean by that isn't that, you can also invest in real estate and alternatives and commodities. No, financial instruments aren't the only thing you can invest in. You can invest, and what investing does is it allows you to take advantage of the magic of compound interest. I've given this example before. If I'll ask someone, would you rather have $1 million today, or would you rather take 1 penny that doubles in value every single day? Now, our minds as humans, we think in a linear fashion. And we take that penny and we say, okay, that penny grows from 1 to 2, and then 2 to 4, and 4 to 8, and 8 to 16, and 16 to 32. And we play that out for a week or two, or 7, 10 days in that example. We say, it's still just not that much money. I'm going to take the $1 million. Well, what happens is over the course of a month, that penny doubling every day turns to over $10 million. Now, all that is an example of compound interest, the magic of compound interest when applied to the financial side of things. So most people see that and they say, that's incredible, but we limit it to finance. We think it only exists in our 401ks or in our investments, or the way that we manage our money. Well, compound interest is a universal principle. It applies to our relationships. It applies to how we spend our time and our energy and how we apply our skill sets and our talents. So what I tell people is, in the same way compound interest can build tremendous portfolios, compound interest can also build tremendous relationships, tremendous hobbies and skill sets, and tremendous uses of your energy. That's important because I see a lot of people who retire after having taken advantage of compound interest in the financial aspect for many, many years. They have more money than they could ever know what to do with, but they feel completely broke when it comes to other sides of their life. They don't have the hobbies to pursue in retirement. They don't have the relationships that they spent time building over the years. They don't have the interests, or they don't have the things they want to do to make retirement not just financially viable, but something that they're really excited for, something that allows them to feel really fulfilled and content with their time. So the same way we view compound interest, the same way we view investing, treat the other aspects of your life that way too. You're not going to retire in the same way you don't retire by starting with $1 today and turning it to $1 million overnight. Well, you can't start a new relationship today and build that into a best friend overnight. You can't start a new hobby today and build that into something you're really passionate about overnight. Spend the time today investing in those things, along with investing in your 401k and your other financial vehicles. So by the time that you're retired, you have both the financial means, but also the fulfillment and the things that you've cultivated along the way to lead to a really, truly fulfilling and happy retirement. The fourth rule of success in personal finance is this. It's that your financial behavior is a reflection of your self-perceived identity. Now, what do I mean by that? It's a lot to process. We think we make decisions in a rational way. We think that everything we approach, we're making a rational one-off decision for this particular component or this particular question or problem in front of us. The reality is, so many of the decisions we make is just a reflection of our self-perceived identity, whether that's conscious or unconscious. What's an example of that? Well, for some people, I've seen people making great money, great incomes, they still live paycheck to paycheck. The reason for that is anytime money comes in, it gets spent, and they tell themselves, next time I get my paycheck, I'm going to save. Next time I get my paycheck, I'm going to put some money away for the future. Then the paycheck comes and they spend it. Well, why is it? It's not for a lack of finances. Now, sometimes it is, a lot of times it is, and I certainly want to acknowledge that. But there's many cases where it isn't. It's more a reflection of their self-perceived identity, of I'm not someone who saves, I'm not someone who does invest, I'm a spender. It's who I am. And so people are stuck in this trap of living paycheck to paycheck because they've never proven to themselves, they've never developed that identity as someone who saves. Now, on the opposite side, I've seen people who have developed the identity as someone who works and as saves. One of the things I have to do with a lot of people is encourage them to step back from retirement. So many people, they're in a financial position to retire, but they keep working, they keep saving, they keep investing. And when we look at the numbers, they could easily retire. In fact, they could retire a couple times over and have no problem. The problem is there's an identity issue of there's someone who works, there's someone who saves, there's someone who puts money away, and to flip that switch and go from someone who's been a saver to a spender overnight is very difficult to do. Now, this isn't a good thing or a bad thing, it's just a thing, and it's a good thing to be aware of who we are, the decisions we make. I see this in my life all the time now that I'm aware of this. It's a result of our identity. Now, someone who writes a lot about this and someone who I respect a lot and read a lot from is someone named James Clear. And he has a blog post titled Identity-Based Habits, How to Actually Stick to Your Goals This Year. Had nothing to do with finances, but the application is certainly there. I'm going to read from what he says. He says, your current behaviors are simply a reflection of your current identity. What you do now is a mirror image of the type of person you believe you are, either consciously or subconsciously. The first layer is changing your outcomes. This level is concerned with changing your results. Losing weight, publishing a book, winning a championship. Most of the goals you set are associated with this level of change. The second layer is changing your process. This is concerned with the changing of your habits and your systems, implementing a new routine at the gym, decluttering your desk for better workflow, developing a meditation practice. Most of the habits you build are associated with this level. The third and the deepest layer, this is changing your identity. This level is concerned with changing your beliefs, your worldview, your self-image, your judgments about yourself and others. Most of the beliefs, assumptions, and biases you hold are associated with this level. Outcomes are about what you get. Processes are about what you do. Identity is about what you believe. So often, our financial outcomes, the third layer here, they're not a result of our habits, they're a result of our identity. If I believe myself to be someone who spends and who works and who provides, or I believe myself to spend out of control and I can't save and I'll never get ahead, all these things that apply outside the financial world also apply inside of it. So how do we understand what our identity is? Either as someone who's frugal or someone who spends too much. Either as someone who spends all their money investing or someone who spends all their money blowing it on things that they don't really need. There's a recipe for this though. This is going back to James Clear's article. He says, changing your beliefs isn't nearly as hard as you might think. There's 2 steps. Number 1, decide the type of person you want to be. Number 2, prove it to yourself with small wins. If you want to discover your new identity, or if you want to create a new identity as someone who saves and you have a problem spending, well, tell yourself, I'm going to start saving $100 per month in my 401k. And you know what? Just turn that on, automate it. What's going to happen is you're going to save that $100 per month, or you're going to save that $200 per month, or whatever it is. It's not going to change your identity overnight, but all of a sudden you're going to become someone who saves. Pretty soon that $100 is going to turn to $200. That $200 is going to turn to $500. And pretty soon you will become someone who saves, which will impact your habits and impact the outcomes that you get. If you're someone who's retired and is having trouble spending money, it's more common than you might believe. Well, what's the identity that you want to have? Maybe your identity is someone who wants to be able to go out and enjoy a nice dinner with your spouse, but you have trouble bringing yourself to spend more than a certain amount on dinner. Well, if you can afford it, and that's what you want to be able to do, to use your money to live this rich version of your life, create habits out of it. Can you put something on the calendar where every week or every 2 weeks, we're gonna go to that really expensive restaurant that I would never spend any money at, but I'm gonna force myself to, because it's gonna start to reinforce these habits. It's going to reinforce these behaviors to where pretty soon you will become and you will develop this new identity as someone who has given himself or herself permission to enjoy what you have financially. So these habits thing and this identity thing, it's not a good or a bad thing. We all are subject to good habits and we're all subject to bad habits, but more importantly, it's our identity of how do we believe ourselves to be, and that transcends into the financial world. So be aware of that and then start to understand how you can start to develop new habits that will lead to the identity that you want to have. The 5th rule of success in your personal finance and success in just the way you manage your financial strategy is this. It's financial freedom is having to think about finances less. A lot of people think that good financial strategy and good financial planning is I've got to look at my budget every single day. I've got to categorize my expenses every single day. I've got to check my stock app. I've got to log into my 401k. I've got to see my financial dashboard. Could not be further from the truth. I love finances and personal financial planning and doing this for a living. I rarely check in on my own finances. And now that's not because I'm being irresponsible and letting things wander. It's because I've set up systems in the way I budget. I've set up systems into how I allocate money for spending versus saving versus investing. I've set up systems for how my money is going to be invested as it goes into different accounts, so I don't have to think about it. If we view our money as the be-all, end-all, then good financial planning means focusing on your money day in and day out and constantly being obsessed with it. If we view our money as a tool to accomplish what actually makes most sense, the goal is to understand where you stand today financially, understand where you want to be in the future, design a roadmap to get there, and then automate as much of it as possible. Not have to tune in to whatever Jim Cramer's saying, not have to tune in to CNBC and Forbes and all these things that are constantly talking about money. The goal of good financial planning is to think about money less and spend more time doing what that money can allow us to do. So as you're looking at your finances, I think the best way to summarize it is Sir Francis Bacon. He said, money is a great servant, but a bad master. So how do we apply these rules to say how can we view our money as something that serves the life that we want to live, as opposed to viewing money as the be-all, end-all, something that we become so obsessed with or so consumed by that it limits our ability to actually do what's most important. So much of retirement is non-financial. I touched upon it here on that conversation about identity and how our identity drives so many of the things that we end up doing on a daily basis. Now we just scratched the surface a little bit here, but if you would like to know more about how can you successfully shift from that savings mindset to that spending mindset so that you can fully enjoy what retirement has to offer, be sure to click this video above. Thanks again for watching. This is James Canal with the Root Financial Partners. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to share it with someone else who you think could find value from it. And also be sure to like this video and subscribe for more content like this. And if you want more resources about how you can create a secure retirement, be sure to check out our podcast called Ready for Retirement. And finally, if you're interested in seeing how our services can help you create a secure retirement, check us out at rootfinancialpartners.com.